Beginning, the battle that should have killed me. The war for Orion Station was supposed to be a massacre. At least, that's what the alien commanders thought. Orion was a mining colony floating near the edge of a dying star system, barely defended, barely valuable. But it had one thing the galaxy wanted badly: tritium cores, the rare fuel used for faster-than-light travel. Whoever controlled Orion controlled a critical supply line. So, when the Crithari Dominion attacked, they didn't send a fleet. They sent an army. Their warships filled the sky like a storm of black metal, blotting out the stars. Their soldiers, tall, armored beings with glowing red eyes, poured into the station through breach points like a tide of steel. Humans were outnumbered 20-1. Command ordered evacuation. Most of the civilians escaped. Some soldiers stayed behind to hold the line. I was one of them. My name is Marcus Hale, and according to every official report in the Dominion archives, I died that day. The last thing I remembered was the explosion. A Crithari plasma mortar slammed into the defense barricade where my squad was stationed. The blast ripped through the corridor like a miniature sun. The world went white. Then everything went black. The prisoner who shouldn't have survived. When I woke up, the first thing I noticed was the silence. The second thing I noticed was the pain. Every muscle in my body screamed as I forced my eyes open. The ceiling above me wasn't human metal. It was smooth, curved, glowing faintly with alien symbols. I tried to sit up. Bad idea. My ribs felt like broken glass. Easy, a voice said. It wasn't human. I turned my head. Standing beside the medical chamber was a woman I'd never seen before. She was tall and elegant, with pale blue skin and silver hair flowing down her shoulders like liquid starlight. Her eyes glowed faintly violet, watching me carefully. She looked stunned. "You're awake," she whispered. "Where am I?" I croaked. She hesitated before answering. "A Crithari medical vessel." I blinked slowly. That's not good. The alien woman let out a small breath that might have been a laugh. "No, it is not." She stepped closer, studying me like I was a puzzle she hadn't expected to solve. "You should be dead." That's what they keep telling me. Her expression shifted, somewhere between confusion and disbelief. "I watched you die," she said quietly. That got my attention. "You were there?" She nodded slowly. "Yes." "Then why am I on a Crithari ship instead of floating in space?" The woman folded her arms. "Because I disobeyed orders." The enemy who saved me. Her name was Lyra Tereth. She wasn't a soldier. She was a Crithari xenobiologist, assigned to study human physiology during the war. When the battle at Orion Station ended, her team was sent to collect biological samples from the battlefield. That's when she found me. "Your body was beneath the wreckage of a barricade," Lyra explained. "Your heart had stopped. Your breathing had ceased. By every measurable standard, you were dead. But you took me anyway?" "Yes." "Why?" She hesitated. Then she admitted something surprising. Curiosity. Apparently, human biology fascinated the Crithari scientific community. Our resilience, our immune systems, our ability to survive injuries that would kill most species. Lyra wanted to study it. So she secretly transported my body aboard her research vessel. Except, I wasn't actually dead. "I restored your cardiac rhythm," she said calmly. 3 times. 3? You kept dying. That's comforting. Her violet eyes narrowed slightly. "You are remarkably difficult to keep alive. Humans have that reputation." She looked away for a moment. "I assumed you would never wake." "Well," I said slowly, surprise. "The problem with living prisoners. Unfortunately, my survival created a very serious problem. The Crithari Dominion did not keep enemy soldiers alive. especially not human ones. If the commanders discover you, Lyra explained, they will execute you immediately. So, what's the plan? I asked. She looked uneasy. There wasn't supposed to be one. I leaned back against the medical pod, wincing. Let me guess. You thought I'd stay dead? Yes. Sorry to ruin your experiment. Lyra sighed. You have ruined far more than that. Before I could respond, the ship suddenly trembled. A deep alarm echoed through the corridors. Lyra's eyes widened. That's impossible. What is it? She checked the console beside the chamber. Then she turned toward me with shock. Human ships. My pulse quickened. You're kidding. No, she said quietly. Your people followed us. Middle, the man who returned from the dead. The human fleet arrived like thunder. 3 destroyers dropped out of hyperspace directly in front of the Crithri research vessel. Weapons locked instantly. The Dominion ship tried to flee. It didn't make it far. Human rail cannons punched through the hull within seconds. The entire ship shook violently. Boarding pods incoming, Lyra said. That's my ride, I muttered. But she didn't look relieved. She looked terrified. You don't understand, she said. What? If your soldiers find me with you, they'll assume you're the enemy. I am the enemy. I thought about that for a second. Technically. Lyra's voice dropped. They will kill me. The truth of that hung heavy in the air. Outside the chamber, explosions echoed through the corridors as human marines began their assault. I looked at her. She had saved my life. 3 times. That had to count for something. You're coming with me? I said. Her eyes widened. That is not possible. It is if I say you saved me. Why would they believe you? I shrugged. Because humans have a weird thing about deaths. The first blast door down the corridor exploded open. Boots thundered closer. Lyra froze. Her hands trembled slightly. They think you're dead, she whispered. Yeah. Then I swung my legs out of the medical pod and stood up. Pain shot through my body like lightning, but I stayed on my feet. Time to change that. The moment that froze her. The boarding team burst into the chamber seconds later. 6 human marines stormed in with rifles raised. Their leader stopped dead when he saw me. His helmet visor lifted slowly. Marcus. I grinned weakly. Hey, Captain. Behind me, Lyra went completely still. Her breathing stopped. Her eyes widened in pure shock. You, she whispered. I thought you were dead. I turned slightly toward her. So did everyone else. The Marines stared between us in confusion. Captain, one of them said, why is there a Crithri scientist standing next to Sergeant Hale? I raised a hand quickly. Because she saved my life. That shut them up fast. Captain Rourke looked at Lyra carefully. She's the reason you're alive? 3 times, I said. He considered that. Then he lowered his rifle. All right, he said slowly. She comes with us. Lyra looked like the floor had vanished beneath her feet. You would spare me? Rourke shrugged. Human rules. Ending. The truth no one expected. A week later, I stood inside a human medical facility orbiting Earth. The doctors were still amazed I was alive. Apparently, the official casualty list from Uranus Station had included my name. I'd been declared dead for 6 months. Lyra stood beside the observation window, staring at Earth. Blue oceans, white clouds, a peaceful world compared to the war we'd both survived. You have a beautiful planet, she said quietly. Thanks. She turned toward me. Your commanders allowed me to remain. Yeah. Why? Because you saved a soldier. That cannot be the only reason. I smiled slightly. You're also the first Crithri who didn't try to kill us. She considered that. I suppose that helps. We stood there in silence for a moment. Then she asked something softly. Marcus, when you stepped forward in that chamber, why did you do it? Do what? Reveal yourself. She lowered her gaze. You were safe while everyone believed you were dead. That was true. A dead soldier couldn't be sent back to war. A dead soldier didn't have enemies hunting him. But I stepped forward anyway. I shrugged lightly. Because you looked like you were about to faint. Lyra blinked. That is not a strategic answer. Welcome to humanity. She laughed softly. Then her expression turned thoughtful. My people believed humans were primitive. And now? She looked at me. Now I believe we misunderstood you. I crossed my arms. Good misunderstood or bad misunderstood? Her violet eyes shimmered faintly. Dangerous misunderstood. I grinned. Yeah, we get that a lot. Outside the window, Earth slowly turned beneath the stars. Behind us, the war between humanity and the Krithari Dominion was still raging. But something had changed. One alien scientist had saved a human soldier. One human soldier had saved an alien scientist. And sometimes, that was enough to start rewriting the future. Lyra looked back toward the planet below. Then she whispered something quietly. When you stepped forward on that ship, I truly believed I was seeing a ghost. I smiled. Well, I said, I guess humans are hard to bury. She nodded slowly. Yes. Her eyes softened. Very hard. And for the first time since the war began, the future didn't feel quite so impossible.